Let's figure this thing out.
Yeah. Now, will it record automatically?
I believe so. So we're live. We can get
No,
going.
we're in side by side mode, so that's good, I think. Great.
Yep. So should we start
Uh,
welcoming?
yeah, I don't know how to see who's joined us. Maybe
We
we
don't
should.
have anyone yet.
Okay. So let's give everybody just a couple of minutes to come in and we can talk about, sort of maybe we can talk about why we uh, decided to start S&J Cafe.
And we've got a couple people joining in. So
Good morning, everyone. Super excited to see.
Stacia, hi. And LinkedIn user and Carol Ann. So we've got some people here. That's great. We're playing around with a new technology, so we're still learning a little bit. So appreciate everyone joining. So I can start. So for those that don't know me, I'm Julia Levy. I'm a global talent acquisition executive, and I've got a passion for helping people find meaningful work. And with me, Susan, I'll let you
I'm,
introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Van Klink, and I'm a former talent acquisition professional turned executive and executive coach. And between Julie and I, we've literally helped thousands of people find meaningful work and advance their careers. And we really wanted to bring our knowledge together and create a cafe-like experience where we could have conversation and share good information, answer questions, and share a drink together. So today you'll see my Tim Hortons mug. Because I'm up in Canada, so any fellow Canadians will know that Tim Hortons is our major brand here, and I'm drinking a nice hot cup of tea. Julia, how about you? What have you got with you
I
today?
made some iced coffee because I'm in Atlanta and it's hot and humid. And so iced coffee here. Carrie, thanks. Hi. Um, and something I want to say, so some of the people on the line are people I've worked with and in the past. And I was part of a reduction in force. Some of them on the line were part of that. And our topic today is around, you know, using LinkedIn to supercharge your job search. And I want to share maybe how Sue and I came together and why this idea came to life with us. So when I lost my job at CommScope, I did a post on social media, and lots of people from my network, past and present, reached out to me to see how they could help. And Sue's one of those people. So Sue and I met back in probably 2006 to 2008 range.
Yep, somewhere.
And I was at MetLife, and she was working for a vendor solution, and we were looking to engage with them on their product. And we've stayed connected since then. And Sue reached out, and we set up a virtual coffee, and she had tea, I had coffee. And we started talking. And as part of that conversation, we said, hey, Sue actually said, hey, I've got this idea. And what do you think? And in the beginning of COVID, Kristen Sweet, who I work with at CommScope, and I did these free recruiter question and answer webinars on job search strategies to help people. And this is very similar. And Sue and I both, liking coffee and tea, decided to call this a cafe, which means career advancement for everyone. And so no matter where you are, if you're in a job search, recently laid off, haven't looked for a job before, or maybe you're stuck at a director level trying to get to a VP level, or manager getting to director, whatever, wherever you are within your career, if you've left the workforce and are trying to get back in, or thinking about retiring and wanting to know what your second act is, we want to help. And so that's where this brainchild came from. This is our first live conversation. We'll be doing this bi-weekly, maybe even weekly, but just wanted to start. Somebody's asking if it's going to be recorded. I believe this does record it automatically. And so we should be able to then have it as a replay for you.
100%. And what I wanted to add to what Julia was saying is I often get people who reach out to me who have left a job for some reason or thinking about leaving a job. And one of the things that I do to help is sort of help them to think about how to leverage LinkedIn and how to bring the power of their network to bear in their job search efforts. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about best practices for doing that and some of the things you should be thinking about. And we'll open it up for questions that can be put into the chat, and we'll answer questions. And I think we'd also like to source, topics for future conversations. Are there things that you're interested in, challenged with, want to learn more about, would love us to bring to the cafe? And we'll just keep a running list of topics, and sort of hopefully this group of cafe participants will grow over time.
So where do we want to start? I talked a minute ago about the power of your network, and
Yes.
I think that that's really critical to focus on. But maybe before you reach out to your network on LinkedIn, you need to know what you're going to reach out to them about. And I've been very blessed and lucky. I know I'm a talent acquisition leader. I want to continue being a talent acquisition leader. So I've got that topic ready. But as I talk to a lot of people, they're a little unsure of what their direction is going to be. Sue, I don't know if you've encountered that with some of the job seekers you've worked with.
That's the first place we start, right? Which is, what type of company do you want to work for? What size of company do you want to work for? What type of role within that type of company? If you have had the type of career that I've had, where you could go in a few different directions, then you want to be, sort of purposeful in how you approach people based on how you think they might be able to help. So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I've been in talent acquisition, I've been in recruiting software, I've been a CRO at a few different companies, I've started and run my own business. So I could go in a multiple number of directions, and I don't reach out to people and say, help me find a job. I reach out to people to say, do you know of anyone who's looking for a CRO for high-tech software in the Series B space? Or I reach out because I know they're in high-tech software in the Series B space. So being very specific and understanding, sort of who you're reaching out to and why. But before we go into that, Julie, I want to go back because you said something really interesting at the top of this, which is you posted a post on LinkedIn. And we see some people do that, and we see some people do that very effectively. And then other people do it and it kind of doesn't go anywhere. I'm assuming you got a lot of response from your post. Why do you think you got so much response from your post? What was it about what you posted and how you said it that you think, other than the power of your network, which you have a lot of connections, but people responded to your post. They saw it and they responded. Why do you think that is?
Probably a couple things. I'm trying to think of my post when it seems so long ago now, over a month,
Yeah.
which is hard to believe. But I wasn't necessarily, I think I have a purpose. So I think about what content I'm gonna put out there, and not just, I'm a very off the cuff person sometimes, but I was thoughtful in it. I wrote something out. I looked at it. I wanted to see if I had a call to action. I used some hashtags. And I think it was just authentic to me. instead of maybe so formulaic or generic in the post. It wasn't, hey, I was laid off, I'm looking for a job. And so
Yeah.
I think it's things like that that you put in there that and then also I think it the my network, and that I'm so many people that I'm a connector and I keep in touch with people. I really work hard at that. And because of that, I'm engaging with people regularly, and I've helped people when they've needed help with their LinkedIn profile or their resume. So there was a lot of, you helped me in your career, in my career search. How can I help you? How can I return the favor? And so I think there was a little bit of that as well in it.
I think that one word that you mentioned, though, authenticity, is so important. When I think about the posts that grab me on LinkedIn, and my posts that have gone viral on LinkedIn have been, authentic, sharing a piece of myself in a vulnerable way, not in a sad sack way, just in a like, hey, I'm not afraid to tell you it like it is. And I think that's something that Julia and I have in common, and what we wanted to bring to this cafe was really the sense of, you could pull up a chair, sit down and have a coffee, a tea, or a cold drink with us, and and don't be afraid to be real, to tell it like it is, to ask the tough questions, um, and to get your questions answered, because it's really, these are uncertain times that we're in, and some people can, sort of lose a job and land on their feet and find a job almost the next day. But it's not like that for everyone. And we really want to help people who have been displaced find their next gig that they really love, not just that, they'll take because it's work and it's a paycheck, but work that you'll really love at the end of it. So would love to know, of the people that we've had join us, are you actively looking for a job? Are you thinking about changing jobs and you're looking for help in that area? Or do you just know Julia or me? Love to see what everybody's working on right now, and how, sort of how we might be able to help. But while we're letting that come up on the screen, I think if we go back to the do's and don'ts of LinkedIn, certainly being authentic, if you're going to post, is one of them. I also like to encourage the people that I work with to post meaningful content that shows your expertise. So, for example, when I read Julia's posts, there's really good talent acquisition. There's really good talent acquisition content in there about how to be a great talent acquisition leader, how to get the most out of talent acquisition, and things like this around what it's like to be a job seeker, and especially a job seeker in this market. So we're seeing some responses coming into the chat, and certainly there are people who are actively looking for a new opportunity. Certainly people that know Julia and are here to say hi, which is great to see you. And so, we'll keep on the how do you leverage LinkedIn to find your next great job. And then if you have any other topics that you'd like to hear about, we'll put those into the queue for future weeks. We're going to do this every other week to start, and then maybe go to weekly.
So one of the things, I was talking with Sue about this in our pre-call, and some of my talent acquisition friends that are on the line and HR friends probably feel this maybe more so than people in other industries and job functions. But I was telling Sue that in the last like week and a half, I've gotten probably 8 or 10 messages from job seekers that are, can you help me find a job? I was laid off. Can you help me find a job? Here's my resume. And I don't know, if you're a job seeker and you're on this webinar or listen to it later, do not do that. Please do not do that. Because all I want to do is go delete, because as a job seeker and as a professional, what types of jobs or what types of companies that you'd be qualified for or interested in. And just not every recruiter, and maybe we'll do a session on this soon, the differences of the types of recruiters.
Yeah.
But not every recruiter works for an agency and is looking for lots of job seekers to them, present them to their variety of clients. And if you work on the corporate side, you're trying to fill jobs for that company, and your company might have 500 open jobs. So while you want to help every job seeker, it's not helpful when someone just sends you their resume and says, find me a job.
100%. And I think what I counsel people to do is to be very specific. And I often encourage informational interviews as a great way to start. So, not necessarily looking for the hiring manager at the company that you want to work with, but looking for people in your network that might work at the company that you want to work with, or people in your network, because that's really the power of LinkedIn, right? It's not just who you know, it's who they know and how they might be able to help you reach the person that you're trying to reach. And so, and what, sort of what can you bring to the table when you reach out to say, hey, uh, I'm in the process of figuring out where I want to go next. I'm very interested in your company for X, Y, and Z reasons. And would you be open to a 15-minute chat with me about what it's like at your company? What you're trying to do is make a connection that will turn into a referral, and that will help you to have a champion within the company to help you get into that job. So I think that's an important one for me, which is it's not just necessarily about going straight to the hiring manager. It's also about finding people that you might know in common who could help, sort of refer you into the job or put in a kind word. I'm always connecting people with my husband Dave, who works at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I'm like, hey Dave, can you find this person? Can you find this person a job? So, leveraging our connections to help you get to sort of the endpoint that you want to get to.
I found sometimes in my career that it's not my direct network that is the most helpful. It's people 2 or 3 levels away for sure,
Yeah.
that are like, they want to help their friends, right? So they're, oh, I worked with Priyanka. So Priyanka, I know Priyanka. Okay, let me go help you. And that they're very motivated by that. So your extended network and the power of it. Um, and I think, Sue, the virtual coffee idea is fabulous. And I can tell you, I've had a lot of virtual coffees in the last couple of weeks. And I think it's really important to keep those people updated on your progress as things go along, because they might not have something for you today, but a month from now, something might come up. And keeping people updated on what's going on with your job search, or just those check-ins, can be really valuable, because in the moment they might not be able to help you, but 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks down the road, they might be able to.
Don't you find that looking for a job is very similar to sales, right? When you
Mhm.
think about how you prospect in sales, if nobody's ever done it, happy to share some insights here. But one of the things is this idea of drip marketing, of this continual reach out and touching base with someone, hey, it's me. Just, wanted to share something, or I saw you posted about X, and I'm really passionate about that. Can I help? In almost every conversation that I have with somebody, I say, how can I help? Right? What is it I can do to help you in what you're trying to accomplish? Not because I want them to reciprocate and do something for me, but I just find that you create a better connection if you are willing to offer help and assistance to somebody else, rather than just be looking to them to sort of help and assist you. So I do that a lot, which is, I can't think of a conversation that I've ended without at least saying, is there anything I can do? How can I help? What can I help you with? And I think that's part of why Julia and I are connected and why we're connectors, right? Because we have that same approach and that same mentality.
You made me think of the last time I was part of a RIF.
Mm-hmm.
I was at MetLife and I was offered outplacement services. So if any of you that are actively looking right now and you were offered outplacement services and you're not taking full advantage of it, I highly suggest you get every penny out of that offering. And I worked with this senior coach. Her name's Charlotte Lee. I've stayed in touch with her in the last 12 years because it was a dozen years ago. And one of the things that Charlotte taught the working group I was part of was about bringing someone a dead mouse, which kind of sounds icky, but it's if you have a cat. I'm a dog person, and my dog is laying right next to me, but so you might hear her bark, and some of you know Ellis. Um, but the thought is, and this goes to sales, is you want to keep in touch with people, give them something valuable, like so a cat brings their owner a dead mouse or a lizard that they found, and they drop it on their door like, here, look at what I brought you. And I believe Charlotte may have written a book on that, some
Okay.
wording like that. Give them a dead mouse, but it is that sales principle. And the recruiters on the line know this as well for passive candidates, right? You can't just reach out to someone and say, hey, take my job. But it's hey, there's this interesting article that I found that I thought you'd be interested in, or oh, did you see X, Y, and Z? Or if they post something on LinkedIn or another social network, don't just like it, but comment on it
Yeah.
and add value to the conversation. And doing those types of activities on LinkedIn or other social networks will help build your people viewing you as an expert or knowledgeable on a topic or interested in a company. And people do notice that and pay attention to it when you're not just saying yes or liking something, but the and adding something else to it.
Yeah, and doing your homework is so important. I was thinking, and when we were talking on our last call, Julia, that you had someone reach out to you and say, "Hey, I'm out of work. Can you find me a job?" And I hope I'm allowed to say this. Your inside voice was like, "I'm also out of work." And if you had read my profile, you would know that, right? So, um, it's really important when you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn with an ask, especially, that you make it personal, that you make it very clear that you've done some research, you've done your homework, you know who this person is, and sort of, you can share what you value about them. Now, if they don't post on LinkedIn, as some people don't, at least know what their current job is, and sort of be able to reference some connection if you can find it, because that takes a cold outreach into a warm lead every time, right? The other thing I would do sometimes is, um, I'll say, "Oh, I see Julia, right? I love Julia. We've known each other for a dozen years, or more. I guess it's more. I don't want to do the math. Anyway, but be great if, sort of we could connect." Now, that's not Julia doing an introduction for me. And that's, I'm using the power of the fact that we both know someone in common as a way to potentially create a connection. Now, if you could reach out to Julia and say, "Hey, I see you know so and so. Would you mind doing an introduction for me?" That's more powerful than even the, sort of, "Hey, we know the same person in common." But you don't want to play that card too many times. You want to make sure that you're saving that card for the really important connections and not for every connection.
Does anyone on the live chat have a specific request format when they're asking someone? So if you're going to reach out to me and ask me to introduce you to Sue, um, how do you approach people? One of my favorite things to do is to write something up. So I might say, Carol Ann, I see that you know Sue. Could you introduce me to her? I've gone ahead and written something for you. Feel free to edit it and make it your own. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And then I've already taken the effort to write up something that Carol Ann could use in order to send it to Sue. So I'm making it very easy for Carol Ann. And I'm also controlling the narrative, because if I just said, Carol Ann, can you introduce me to Sue? Carol Ann might just say, oh, I worked with Julia when I was at CommScope. Sue, could you talk to her?
Right.
That's not a powerful request. But if I write something up to Carol Ann that said, for Carol Ann to use, that says, I worked with Julia at CommScope. She was a great talent acquisition leader, helping the company grow, increase hiring by 30% during the great resignation period. She's looking for a job right now and wanted to have a virtual coffee with you. I'm hoping you'll, meet with her. And then Carol Ann might edit it a little bit and then send it to Sue. That's a lot more powerful. And so I think that's probably one of my most important tactics when I'm on and using LinkedIn and asking my network to help extend my network into theirs.
100%, Julia. And the corollary to that for me is sometimes I get people who will ask if I will do an endorsement or make a recommendation on their profile on LinkedIn. And I'm happy to do that. But what I always say is, why don't you write up what you would like me to say, and I'll make some adjustments to it. But then I'm making an endorsement or a recommendation based on what you think will help you the most versus, sort of me. First off, to be totally honest, I don't want to write a recommendation from scratch. I would like to edit, sort of generally something and make it my own. But that's another powerful way to use your profile. Ask for recommendations, ask for endorsements, right? And, sort of that is a signal to the LinkedIn community that quite frankly, that you're looking. Whenever I see a flurry of endorsements showing up on somebody's profile, my little spidey sense goes up that they're probably either getting ready to go looking in the market, or they're on the market. They just haven't updated their LinkedIn profile to show it yet.
So I want to be mindful of time. Sue and I had said that we were going to try and keep these short, and we're right at that almost 30-minute mark. So I wanted to see if there were any questions from the audience. You can put them here and we'll answer one or two now, and then we can either use other questions that come up for future broadcasts, or we can use them for, answer them in little shorts or put some Q&A stuff out there. And we're going to build out a website and content and things like that over time.
Yeah, and our goal here is to answer questions, provide good information, give you a place to feel like you've got community and support, and that, whether you're trying to advance your career or whether you're looking for your next great gig, that that you're not alone, and that there are other people who are also in, sort of doing the same thing, and that this is a safe space to talk about it. All right. Well, Julia, I'm excited for this adventure that we're heading out on. And, sort of, I agree with you. We're going to grow the format over time, and we're going to learn through trial and error. And we also are two virtual workers who want one has a dog and now one has a baby. So who knows what the next few weeks or months are going to look like, but we're going to just get together and make it happen. And if you see a dog pop up on the screen or a baby pop up on the screen, well, that's
That's
life, and
life, right?
that's how we roll.
Well, cheers. And thank you all for joining. And please give us feedback. We want to improve this as time goes on. And if you have ideas for topics, please share them.
Please spread the word. We want more. We certainly want to create a very rich, vibrant community of people who can help each other in this world that we're living in currently. So thank you all. Thank you, Julia.
Bye, everyone. Thank
We'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Bye-bye.